So I found the world's most misogynistic podcast, and they're getting a taste of their own medicine right now, and it's absolutely wonderful. From having their butts handed to them by a girl to intense internet backlash and, digging up some interesting facts about these men's past. All of this is happening, and it's glorious, and we're gonna go through all of it today, but first let's roll that disclaimer. Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about a podcast called The Reality Check. They have 26,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. But basically, this podcast is hosted by, I think, two dudes, Shuan and CJ. Two dude bros, just like the worst type of people that we see on the internet. For example, this Shuan Maroof guy, his Instagram account, his bio says he's an e-commerce entrepreneur and property investor. The other guy, CJ McKenna, he doesn't really have anything in his bio. Now, his Instagram is still up, but Shuan Maroof's has been privatized, and we'll get into all of that. But basically, the whole point of this reality check podcast is that these two men bring on a female guest, and that guest is usually a spicy site model, you know what I'm saying? An model. Are we all following? Cool. And they basically just gang up on this poor woman, like schoolyard bullying as far as I see it. But I don't know. I have never heard of this podcast before until this controversy happened. Supposedly, from what other people are saying, generally they're not as harsh with their guests as they were with the woman we're talking about today. Her name is Rebecca Goodwin, and she agreed to come onto the podcast. I don't really know what she was thinking. Maybe just thinking she'd promote herself. Maybe it's some visibility or something. But when she got there, it turned into these men being terrible. We're gonna watch through a lot of this, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The good news is that after we're done watching the horrificness of this podcast, we've got a lot of updates from Rebecca Goodwin afterwards, just absolutely pooping all over this dumpster fire of a podcast, and it's working out really well for her. It's glorious. We love to see it. We love to see these entrepreneur bros get a taste of their own medicine. It's fantastic. But it sucks that Rebecca had to go through what she went through to get to this point. And I guess I should give credit where credit's due. I found out about this because I stumbled upon this video by Cam Kirkham Reacts. He's got 232,000 subscribers. It's a YouTube channel I'd never heard of, but this plopped into my lap and I watched it and I'm like, oh my god. So shout out to this channel. This is where I originally found the inspiration to make this video, but I think a few other people have talked about it as well. We're gonna click play here. Also make sure that you hit that like button on this video if you like what you're watching. Subscribe, and if you think you're subscribed, double check and make sure that you're subscribed, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people from me. I get told that by my own channel members sometimes. It's weird. So double check all that for me, please. And yeah, that like button really helps. It's a free way to support the channel. So please make sure you're doing that. And all right, without further ado, let's jump into what happened with the Reality Check podcast and Rebecca Goodwin. Okay, and this is literally the beginning. This is how the podcast episode on YouTube starts.
You know what? I'm gonna get off now. You are the most disrespectful people I've ever met.
What? We was only joking.
No. Okay, you lot are getting fucking rich as shit now.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Hey, goodbye. What the f? Welcome back to the Reality Check. Today, guys, we need some help from all of you. We have been demonetized on YouTube, so we literally don't earn anything from these videos anymore.
What a relief. Gee, I wonder why. Honestly, I think it's probably because talking about the spicy site on YouTube tends to get people demonetized. And I'm just gonna put this out here before YouTube tries to slap this video. I'm gonna be like censoring stuff and cutting out the vulgar things. So I'm trying to keep this as like PG-13 as possible. But the subject matter in this podcast episode in particular, and I can imagine the other ones considering, I guess, the premise of this entire podcast, I can assume that they're regularly talking about some pretty say dirty things. So, but yeah, I will be cutting that out. I'm not going to be putting the full podcast episode here either though, but if you want to watch it, it's really easy to find. I'm only going to be cutting out the parts that I think are actually deplorable. This entire video is 26 minutes long. Anyway, gee, wonder why you're not making any money off of this.
Anyways, today we have hoe number one. What's your name?
Wow.
That's how he introduced her, was hoe number one. We're 1 minute into this podcast episode, and that's including that first like coming up section they had. He introduces her as hoe number one, which she smiles and laughs and is just kind of like she's going with it. Clearly she's going with it, but like this kind of energy does not stop. It does not let up. It actually gets like a bazillion times worse.
It's Rebecca Goodwin. You just want to rip me apart, don't you? And I don't mean in the way that I'm used to.
We'll get to that, to be fair. We will get to that.
Come on, do your worst.
So tell me, why did you decide to change your from brown to pink using a Snapchat filter?
Because it was brown. No, because obviously...
Is there something wrong with being brown?
No, listen, but I'm a white girl.
Okay, so that term that they use there, obviously this is a United Kingdom based podcast. In America, we don't use that term that I'm going to be censoring out. It rhymes with fringe. I think that's slang for a woman's nether regions. This is the first question they ask her. Not even 2 minutes into the podcast, they're asking about her lady bits and asking her why she, I guess, used a Snapchat filter to change the color of it. That's inappropriate. Like, I get that this is her line of work, but like, I'm already uncomfortable. There should be another woman in this room, period. Like, the fact that she's in this apartment with 3 dude bros who are this blatantly disrespectful less than 2 minutes in, I'm like, I'd be out of there already. I'd be like, you know what? Actually, you already called me a hoe and asked me about my nether regions. Time to go.
You clean up the poo rather than use a filter and just keep the poo on there.
Because it's just a stain, isn't it?
Wait, you was actually wiping back to front?
No, that was obviously I'm taking a piss. Do you know anything about women? Right, okay, so sometimes the it's just a bit off-coloured and it's not bubblegum pink, and that's okay. And so back then I didn't know what I was doing, so I just used a Snapchat filter that made it a little bit more rosy and nice and cute. But then I found bleach.
Wait, you bleached your...
Oh, wait, guys, we forgot to let you know. Let's try and limit the swearing to as much as possible because
who swore? That's not swearing.
That is...
We would have to bleep it out.
We have to cut it out.
Okay.
This guy is already yelling at her, being like, you're not allowed to say that, you're not allowed to say that, and we're gonna have to cut it out. But they didn't cut it out, and they didn't bleep it or censor it or anything. So it sounds like you're just being a dick to be a dick. Like, either you're gonna cut it out and we wouldn't even see any of this, or you're just like finding a reason to be like, hey, like controlling her. Like, this is what you can and can't say. We're allowed to ask you about these things, but you need to respond properly. Like, I don't know, that gives me yucky vibes.
Yeah,
surely
just all
not.
over. You just
Didn't it
apply
burn?
it like a lotion once a day until it lightens everything.
Did that not mess up your pH levels?
No.
You can't bleach your...
You can bleach anything.
So is it finally pink now?
It's pinkish.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. It's working.
So is it the same colour?
No, obviously not. This is dyed. My natural colour is blonde, so you can't...
So is it blonde?
Yeah.
Why don't you dye it? Do you have a strip or how is
I'm
it?
just bald.
Yeah, good. That's the best way. What's going on recently with like porn stars having hairy midgets?
Do you want to know? They're grown women. That's what's going on with that.
Yeah,
you want a prepubescent child? Then absolutely.
Well, obviously not, but why don't they
saying.
wax anymore? No, because they used to be bald.
Because women are in a revolution right now, and women are tired of men saying, shave that p***, shave that p***. Women want to be able to have hair, and then men will say, isn't that unhygienic? And I'll say, show me your fucking armpits. And you'll have hair there, right?
Okay, they ask her a question, and when she starts answering it in a way that challenges the masculine energy that they have established in this room, he just starts snoring. Are women in a revolution right now? Hell yeah. Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know how things are going on in the UK, but in America, most of us ladies are sick of the shit. There's so many movements that involve not involving ourselves with straight men because because I guess a majority of them act like this. I don't know. I have been married for almost 13 years, so I have not had to encounter men like this in like dating situations because I don't date. So like I don't know, but from what I hear and from what I see on the internet, this is a very common sort of personality that women often run into while they're trying to like seriously date. And yeah, I can imagine that it's extremely frustrating. Like I would rather swallow broken glass than attempt to date men right now. I consider myself lucky that that is not something that I have to deal with in my regular life. So
why don't you have hairy armpits then?
Because I don't personally want him. That's my preference. But if a woman did, it wouldn't mean that it's more unhygienic than a man to
I never
have
said it's
them.
unhygienic, it's just unattractive.
Yeah, no. But why is it unattractive?
Okay, so you're saying this, but you've got a bald right?
Yeah.
So you obviously think it's
but
unattractive.
That's because it itches me.
Yes.
Okay, so you think,
That's the reason.
So you think
It's
a
nothing
hairy
No, I don't think a hairy is unattractive. I think
don't?
it's very attractive. Yeah.
You think it's
I
very
love
attractive?
a woman.
What's
you
attractive
alright?
about it?
I'm all right, yeah.
No,
The only people on this planet that naturally have bald and bald armpits are kids.
Can we not get into that? Cause
No, because they don't like it when you throw the facts out
but
there.
that's
She's
ridiculous.
right.
It's not.
Of course
it's
it's
the
ridiculous.
truth. Right, it's okay for you to
Hair
have
is
a
not
preference.
attractive though.
It's not.
For sure.
okay, says who? Says you misogynistic pieces of shit who think that women need to adhere to what you personally believe is attractive. I have personal female friends who don't shave their armpits, don't shave their legs, and they are beautiful, beautiful people. But also, he's just like, oh, so if you think hair there is attractive, then why don't you let yours grow out? And she's like, because it itches. And she's so fucking right, dude. Like, I don't need to go into all of that, but yeah, it's like a few days of letting that stuff grow out, it gets so itchy. It is much more comfortable not to have hair there. But like, if you want to have hair there, that's great. More power to you. I don't think it has anything to do with hygienic stuff, and I also don't think it looks bad. Like, who cares? Who cares? And like, that's what it all comes down to, is like, hey boys, why do you give a shit? Do any of these little guys have a mate of their own? Are they just boys, like, or do they actually date and like try to find a partner? Because like, I cannot see a singular woman listening to this and being like, yes, I would like to be that woman in his life, because like, they clearly have very high standards that are not justified, in my opinion. What a woman decides is more comfortable in her body is her choice, and you either like it or you don't. And just because you make one choice for yourself to be like, I prefer to have my hair styled in this way, we'll say it that way, doesn't mean that people with other hairstyles are unattractive. You know, like, I don't get it. There is a double standard there, and she's pointing it out, and they don't fucking like it. I like it.
Say that again with that mouth hair all around it, please.
Okay, beards are attractive.
It's different for a man, though.
Okay, it's not different for a man.
Of course it is.
It's
Yeah,
not.
because of society's standards, because of what you
So
demand.
you're actually looking at me and telling me you only shave because it's
itchy.
So
Yeah,
you
it
shave your
itches me,
armpits and that.
Yeah,
And
I
your
shave
legs.
everything.
And
But
your
the problem
legs.
is, right, if you have a partner, you have a preference. It is fine. It is fine for a man to have a preference. You want a bald, I get that, no problem. But when the issue starts is when men start saying all women should be shaved. That's like saying hair doesn't belong on women,
But that's
right? And I
our
am telling
preference,
you,
right?
yeah, your preference for a woman, not for me, not for a star, not for someone you are never gonna fuck in your life. That is what we call none of your fucking business.
Okay, so
Yes.
when women say all men should be 6 foot plus.
I don't say that.
No, but
no, not all men should be. They're saying the person that we date.
But that's the societal norm, right?
No,
Someone's height is not subject to a societal norm. That's like genetics. You can't help that. It's just so clear to me that these are just little boys who don't ever listen to women. They don't ever listen to any talking point that even slightly begins to challenge their patriarchal view of the world. And the moment they do, they feel so attacked. Oh, us poor men. Well, isn't it the societal standard to be over 6 feet tall if you're a man? No. Maybe society says that taller men are more attractive, but like, that is something that you can't help. If we're talking about shaving body hair, that's something you can help. And I understand that, like, or hair, you know, hairstyles, outward appearances that can be changed. Sure. But he's just like, well, what about short kings? Basically, it's just like, that's a preference, but like, you can't say that's a societal norm because you can't change your height, dude.
No,
All
you
men
don't.
need to be 6 foot plus or they're short, yeah?
Well, no,
Do we
I
not do
wouldn't say
that to men? And you know what's mad? Men can't even change that. Women can shave their p***s. Some men are below 6 foot. Most men are below 6 foot. Imagine.
That's what I'm saying, but he's the one who's saying it's a societal norm when I'm saying, no, that's fucking genetics and you can't change it. So it sounds like he's just projecting some insecurities, you know?
how they
But
feel.
there's a lot of women out there that
You should start a
prefer
trend.
a short king.
men are kings.
And my man's a short man.
You got a man?
He's a short. I've got a man. I've got a few men.
Oh, you got a few men, do
Of
you?
course I have. Yeah.
And they're all below 6 foot.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. He's
She paused there
exactly
for
the
a
same height as me. Exactly the
How
same.
tall's that?
5'8".
Do you know what?
Perfect height for a
Going back
man.
to the hairy,
Yeah.
your opinion would hold a lot more weight if you didn't shave everything on your body.
But that's a preference. Again, it's a preference. Yeah, men. When men say that is unattractive on a woman for you to have hair, right? That is your preference. So you would go for somebody that doesn't have a hairy. Now that is fine. But when you are dictating and saying all women that don't shave their are unattractive, all women should shave their armpits, that is when, I hate to say this, but it is crossing the line of pedophilia.
What are you talking
Because
about?
it is.
That is mental. How are you saying that it's the same as pedophilia? It's got nothing to do with pedophilia.
What is the difference between a child and a woman?
It's a child.
Puberty.
Not, yes, I know, but
puberty.
listen. No, the
Not hair, I'll
difference.
tell you that for sure.
Yes, puberty.
Breasts, widened
Everything.
hips.
Puberty.
I think she is kind of painting this part with a broad brush because I would wager to say that 99% of men who prefer women to be hairless in multiple places are not saying that as a preference because it makes them more childlike. Like, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think she might be over-exaggerating this point a little bit. And I can kind of understand the outrage because I don't know the history of why women started shaving all their body hair, you know? I don't know what started that. I'll Google it. In the early 20th century, safety razor manufacturers promoted the idea that body hair on women was unhygienic. You think it was probably just like a big advertising campaign to sell more razors? Probably. I absolutely believe that. Yeah, basically everything I'm reading says it probably started due to aggressive advertising campaigns. So, and that's how it turned into societal norms. But it doesn't actually have anything to do with hygiene. It's literally just body hair. But I'll admit that I think she's wrong about this. But I'm not going to say it doesn't ring true for someone out there.
Do you like to attract pedophilic men because
No, I
you
don't
are
attract
shaving everything?
man.
So
Do
you're
you know,
shaving
I'll
everything
tell
because you want to be a
something.
child,
No,
because you want your man
Yeah.
to fancy you as a
I
child.
shave
Is that the reason?
I wouldn't expect
According to
every
your
single-
knowledge,
Will you let her fucking answer the question, sir?
It is a societal norm
unattractive.
for
That
girls
is
to
hating
shave
on
their hair.
puberty.
It's
No, it's not. It's not.
Of course it is.
But
You
it's
do it.
not anymore. You said
How are you
at the-
saying
you
it's not?
said
How can I
at the
take your opinion
beginning- You
seriously?
said at the beginning
You
of
do
this
it.
podcast, why
You said
are
you've got a bald. You've got no
having
hair on your
hairy
leg. No hair
Why?
on your
Because
armpits,
we are
and you're trying to tell me.
fighting back against men saying we don't. Women can't
Right,
have
time
hair.
out, guys. Time out.
He's not understanding what she's saying. What she's saying is, yeah, it's my preference to do those things. And honestly, it is still a societal norm. Like, let's all be honest with ourselves as women. It still is the societal norm, at least in America and the UK and stuff, for women to be more clean shaven. And there is still like this outrage and disgust about women who choose not to do that. But I think there definitely is a sort of revolution that women are just kind of like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm not trying to attract men. I don't care what men's preferences are. I'm gonna do me. So I think that is what she's saying. She's saying women are trying to change that societal norm, but I do it because that's my preference and that's what I want to do. I totally understand what she's saying. It makes total and complete sense. But the other guy is just like not getting it. He's just like, oh, well, if it's not a societal norm, then why do you do it? It's like, because she wants to. She literally already told you it's itchy, and she's right. It is itchy. I don't know. I haven't had armpit hair in a really long time, so I don't know if that is itchy or not. I guess it kind of does get a little like chafy, you know, if it gets too long. So I don't know. I totally understand what she's saying.
How does your boyfriend feel about you doing corn?
Well, I met my boyfriend a year ago, and I have been doing corn for 5 years now. So obviously, it was common knowledge that was the industry that I'm in. So we don't really talk about it. I'm not like, hey, babe, I've had the best day at work. It's been fantastic. We sort of just don't really speak about me getting rocked by multiple men.
So he doesn't like it?
Yes. Well, no, I'd say he doesn't, no.
How did you meet him then?
In a nightclub.
Okay, did you tell him what you did straight away or?
Yeah. Well, he recognised me from doing what I do, or from TikTok, I'd say.
He was a fan?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's probably one out to you before.
Wait, so he doesn't like you doing it, but he was a fan himself?
Yeah, well, that's how most men are. I've been like on a few dates and stuff. I actually dated a guy that is in the industry himself, and like 3 dates in, he turned around to me and said, I don't like what you're doing. But he is a guy that's, you know, working on a, so he's catering to gay men. Okay. So he will go and get his dick sucked and walked off by men, but would feel very uncomfortable when I did the same thing. So I ghosted him.
So would you ever stop like what you're doing?
Would I fuck? The day that a man comes up to me and is worth more than 100 grand a month is the day that I'll stop doing it. And I can tell you now, just over, yeah.
Over 100 grand a month?
Yeah.
Does your boyfriend watch your new content?
He doesn't watch anything that I do. He's blocked me on all social media.
What are you doing with that money?
It goes into property. So I'm doing the affordable housing scheme. Which is where I buy property outright, usually like 2-bedroom terrace, and we rent them out, we being me and my business partner, we rent them out to people that are low income families for prices like £450 a month for a 2-bed terrace house.
I let this go on for a long time. I will be cutting out like a good chunk in this middle part because the conversation is extremely vulgar. I don't think it's necessary to add here. She just told a story that was kind of gross, but I do want to touch on what she is talking about her like investment businesses. First of all, 100 grand a month. Holy, she's essentially a landlord. I find issue with people being landlords, but like considering what most property investors do is they'll like buy a house for cheap, flip it, and then like sell it for a huge profit or something like that, which makes housing less affordable. What she's saying she's doing is she is buying probably those same properties that, you know, investors would like to get their hands on, but she's renting it out for cheap to low-income families, which I don't know how like mortgages and stuff work in the UK, but I do know like low-income families often don't have any credit, or they have bad credit, so they wouldn't be able to get like a mortgage loan, you know, for themselves. So actually buying a property themselves is kind of out of the question. So if what she's doing is helping people get back on their feet and maybe try to save some money to become homeowners themselves down the road, I think it's a good thing. And at least like she has those properties and isn't trying to make a shitload of money off of it, like a huge profit off of it, you know? Whatever investors she's competing with would do that. So at least she's doing that. I think that's how I feel about the situation, but I might be missing something. So I don't know. I am a little torn, but I also do see that if she wasn't doing this, those same properties would be bought up by someone like the guy that she's sitting right next to, and he would be flipping it and selling it for a profit. So, and maybe she is making a profit as well, but I mean, probably not significant, especially if it's only 450 pounds a month, which what would that be in American? Let me see. Is about $566 in the United States, which is really, really cheap. Like my first apartment was like 800 square feet, 1 bedroom, and we paid like $650 for it, I think. Oh no, that wasn't my first apartment. My first apartment that me and my husband had together without roommates. But that was like 15 years ago. Yeah, even 15 years ago, I was still paying more than what she's charging people. So if that's the price that she's essentially giving people housing for, I think that's extremely affordable. I don't like that she called it a scheme. I don't think she meant that, or maybe it means something different in the UK than it does here. Because like a scheme you think of here is just kind of like something sketchy, just like me and my little scheme, but maybe she didn't mean it that way. I don't know. Like my gut is telling me that's something that's worth respecting, simply because she's taking those properties away from people who would otherwise flip them and sell them for a major profit. So anyway, I don't know. Let me know what you think.
So yeah, it's like, obviously I bought the houses anyway, so it's not completely selfless because all these properties will belong to my kids.
But the government subsidised you, right?
No, not yet. We want to turn it into a charity so that it's tax-free, but we're not at that point. I don't get anything.
So how much would you buy a 2-bed house for?
85,000.
Wait, what? Where are you getting these from?
Chesterfield.
Scotland
So
or
the house that I'm in now,
Chester, yeah.
Chesterfield. The house I'm in now is going to be one of the rental properties. I'm waiting to buy a farm and I'm moving out of it. That's 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, three-story house, 2 driveway. That was 230,000.
It's cheap.
And what's that?
Very cheap up north.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
completely
Like
different
Manchester
prices.
for like 60 grand, 50 grand.
Yeah, I've got lots of properties that are just like on the mark of 70 to 85,000.
And that's fascinating to me that properties at that price exist anywhere in the world right now. Because, like, the housing market where I live right now, I'm lucky we got into this house right before, like, the housing market boomed. So, like, the house I live in now is going for more than double, almost triple what we paid for it if we were to sell it right now, which, I mean, everything around me is entirely unaffordable. So I guess we're lucky that we're in a home of our own and we got it when we did. I don't know. Good for her. I do like that she at least admitted that, like, it's not entirely selfless. She has kids. I don't know how many kids she has. She's like, yeah, those properties are gonna be my kids' properties someday. I think that's fine because it's not like they're like giant mansions or anything, you know?
Well, obviously they pay themselves as well when you've got the tenants in. But like I said, it is all like a portfolio to pass down to my 2 kids.
You have 2 kids?
I do, yeah. 2 girls.
What are they? How old are they?
One is 12 and one is 6.
Do they know what you do?
My 12-year-old knows what I do. She got told in Karen's diner.
Oh,
Oh,
I can imagine that went down well.
Yeah, we went in there and they announced on the microphone that a star was in the building, and so that's how she found out. But she's very, very popular in school. I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's not going to get bullied. When I pull up in that Porsche, everybody wants to be her friend, which is a bit wrong, but yeah, she's not been bullied yet, so she doesn't mind. I think if I had 2 boys, it would be
Yeah,
a very
sure.
different story.
Yeah, definitely. I
What
agree.
did Karen's Diner say to your daughter?
They just announced on the tannoy as I walked in that there was a star because they recognised me.
Okay.
And then my daughter went, Mom, there's a star. So just telling a 12-year-old that is quite hard.
That's pretty rude. Who does that? Anyone's line of work shouldn't be like a commodity like that, you know, to just be kind of blasting everywhere. Like, imagine being a construction worker. I don't know. You walk into a diner and they go, hey, everyone, there's a construction worker here. Like, that doesn't happen. But because of her line of work, and she walks into an establishment with her kids and they're like, this will be a good idea. Hey, everyone. Like, what? Because, like, you wouldn't do that for basically any other job.
at what age would you want your daughter to know about kind of what you're doing?
Like I said, she'd already I would never, ever, ever want to lie to them. I would always tell them the truth. Obviously, I've got a 6-year-old as well. But a lot of people are under the impression that I'm making out that I'm working in Tesco's and one day they're going to go, Mom, that's not true. You're a fucking whore. But no, they're always going to know from, it's sort of normalised like that I'm in the industry that I'm in. Obviously, I'm not going to say, this is what I do, look. But they're going to know along the lines of lingerie modelling, let's say.
And what if your daughter wanted to go into the same industry?
Obviously, as long as she was the correct age, then I'd support her. Anything that makes her happy, I'll support her with 100%.
Really?
Yeah,
Like, you being in the
absolutely.
industry, would you really want your daughter to do that?
Yeah, you know what? This industry is as bad as people may make it sound. You have to remember that I own the company. I can understand people not wanting to do it when other people like Bang Bros or when they, because with those professionals, you turn up, you get paid one sum of money, and then they can use and monetize that video over and over again, and you have no rights to the video whatsoever. So whereas I am the owner of my own company, which is Becky Mill, and obviously I choose the talent that I work with, I'm not getting paid one lump sum, I'm getting paid continuously. It's a safe environment, and yeah, I've got the control of it.
If you weren't earning the same amount of money you were earning, say you were earning £1,000 a month,
Yeah,
how would you then feel about what you
really,
were doing?
really good, because the main thing about owning is not the money, it's the freedom. Like before I worked in
You ain't got
Debenhams.
no freedom at £1,000 a month.
You have. Before I worked at Debenhams Cafe, right? I've got 2 kids, remember that. I couldn't afford childcare, so I'm staying at home with their friends.
At £1,000 a month?
That is an average job.
No
it's
way.
not.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not.
It was for me.
You're
I was
probably making so much money now, you forgot what it's like being
No,
down
I was
there.
working at Debenhams Cafe and I was working part-time, so I'd get £475 a month plus working tax credits. I've got kids, so my money would always be...
No,
No, it's not.
It's not.
No,
Yeah,
wages is the same. All throughout, the minimum wage is about £11.50, right?
Depends where you live, mate.
I've lived in poverty.
In England, the minimum wage is £11.50.
You get paid more in certain places.
Yeah, but the prices down there are a lot
What do you mean?
lower.
How are you getting £475 a month?
By
How many hours were you working?
16 hours a week, part-time in Debenhams Cafe.
Right, okay. So you were working less hours?
I worked less hours, but obviously I got the money topped up by the government, so because I have kids. So if I earned £1,000 a month from only, I wouldn't have to find the childcare. Okay, I'd be making more than I made at Debenhams, and I'd get my money topped up by the government. So yeah, I would still do it. But it's the not having to find the childcare, not having to worry about who's picking the kids up from school. That is the freedom that it gives you.
I'm talking about a normal person, yeah, not you that you had 2 kids and so on. The normal person who could earn even the minimum wage, which would be like what, almost £2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Would that not be worth you saving your dignity? My
dignity was long gone way before I had this job. Like, my dignity was robbed of me when I was 4 years old. I'm reclaiming everything that was taken from me, okay?
I love that for her. She clearly has made a few statements that maybe are over exaggeratory. Is that a word? But for the most part, I think she has her head on straight. I totally see what she's saying. I mean, I don't know her past. I don't know if she was SA'd as a child, which is so heartbreaking if that's the truth. But she does this by choice. This is what she wants to do. See, that's what I don't get. I'm like, for example, I got a YouTube comment. I don't know, this was a few weeks ago or something. Was it YouTube? Maybe it was on Instagram. I don't know. Some man showed up in my comments and was like, when are you gonna start a GoFundMe to pay for all your tattoo removal? And I was just like, you realize I paid to put these on my body because I like them. I don't care if you don't like them. I like them. As a matter of fact, if I had more money, I'd be covered head to toe, dude. But I don't. Tattoos are expensive. That's what I'm saying. This was my choice and I like them and I would like more, please. Her job is her choice. She could stop doing it at any time, but she does it because she likes it and it's rewarding to her. How dare you be you lost your dignity? Okay, but if men do the spicy site, then it's totally fine, right? Again, a double standard, because societally, women are supposed to be pure and blah, 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 or else they're hoes, just like he introduced her as a hoe. But men can go off and do whatever. They can have as many side girlies as they want, and it's the more you have, the more respected you are in masculine circles, and it's it's such a double standard, and I love, personally, in my opinion, I love seeing women who do this line of work by choice because they like it. I love to see them thriving, living their dream lives, and doing a job that so many people speak down on. I mean, the reality is that industry is a huge industry, and talking down on it is almost it feels to me whoever talks down on it is just in denial of how many people pay money into that industry. And personally, I don't get it. I've never been a corn watcher. No shade if you are, and I think most people are, but I've just never felt the need to do that. I don't care, but I also I don't judge people who do it or who watch it. But the reality is a lot of people do, and it's a good thing that we have people like her and so many others who consensually make this kind of content for other people to consume. Because if consensual corn did not exist, the corn industry absolutely would still exist, but it would be a lot less ethical. There would be more force, I guess, behind that. So yeah, we kind of need people like this, because regardless, the industry is going to exist. So as far as I'm concerned, I think she's on the right track, and I think she's doing great. When she says she's reclaiming everything that was taken from her, I'm like, hell yes, girl. Get it. As long as she's comfortable and happy, let her do it, dude.
How are you reclaiming it? By doing it?
Because men used my body, and now I'm using my body to reclaim what was taken from me. My dignity was stolen as a child. I was raped as a child. I was groomed as a child. There's no dignity there. Obviously, it's common knowledge that the more people, that if people were, groomed or raped as a child, then they are more hypersexual as an adult. I'm going to use that to monetize from every single person that has ever taken from me, and I think I've done that pretty well. You say it's no dignity, but there's no dignity in going out to work for somebody that's really, really rich. I'm talking Tesco's, right? You're going to go, what is the dignity in setting your alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning to get up to go and make their pockets even bigger and give them more money?
Dude, you know what? She's so right. She's so right. This is such a good point. Billions of people around the world are victims of low-wage labor to benefit ultra-rich people already. And you could absolutely argue that there's not really dignity in that because people work for these huge companies to survive. It's not necessarily because they want to. I think if everyone had a choice, people wouldn't be stocking shelves in a grocery store or flipping burgers at McDonald's. If people actually like to do the burger flipping, maybe you could go to culinary school and start your own restaurant, or not have your own business, but you could be like a gourmet chef or something. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think if people had the choice and they could learn whatever skill they wanted and work wherever they wanted, most people would not choose to work at Walmart or McDonald's. Again, like, no shade to people who do work for those companies and others like them. But the fact of the matter is right now, we're all just cogs in this capitalist hellscape machine. And if you can escape that and do what makes you happy and do what keeps you comfortable, I say more power to you. It's almost like the criticism that she's getting from these men and anyone else who criticizes her and people like her, I think they're looking at what she does and being like, that's so easy and she makes so much money. Like, wow, like, I could totally do that if I wanted to, but I don't. It's like, okay, whatever. I bet if you could make that same kind of money doing what she does, you probably would too. Well, it certainly helps that she's beautiful and like conventionally attractive. So good for her, I guess. But it just sounds to me like men and people who criticize her in general just seem to have an issue with a woman using her own body to do what she wants to with it and bringing in a paycheck because of it. Because they would much rather her be someone's receptionist or something like that. And it's like, why the fuck do you even care? I don't know.
While you're sat there all day.
You're comparing to a black.
Absolutely.
Even that, I'm not gonna lie, even that has more dignity than what you do.
Please explain to me how getting up in the morning to line some rich
you're doing
man's
something
pocket,
positive for society, I guess.
Positive. £238,000 was my tax bill this year. Okay, I'm doing something positive for society by paying the lot of your wages.
Okay, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if we went back to caveman times,
which we're not in,
we're actually going to have some constructive
if we went
production
back to
coming from people
so why
that are
don't you
doing
go
those
out
jobs.
there and kill a cow instead of shopping at Tesco's? Let's go
But
back to caveman times.
There are people doing that though.
But
And
we're not in caveman
you wouldn't be able to
times.
eat your burgers if there weren't people doing that. Whereas you getting your out on a is
I'll tell you something else.
adding nothing productive to our society. If
Except
anything, it's damaging. It's damaging our society.
Except from the tax bill, the £238,000 that I paid on the 31st of January this year.
I was talking about girls that are.
How is that
I was
not?
talking about if a girl was earning £1,000.
How are the NHS nurses going to get paid without these tax bills?
Let's try not talk over each other, by the way.
I was talking about the girls that are earning £1,000 a month. And comparing it to someone who works in Tesco.
These girls do not belong to society. These girls are their own girls. These girls do not have to contribute anything to society.
Thank you.
A society that gives you what? Please explain to me what society is giving you.
Apart from the things you're doing with charity and that, which is really good, by the way, what are you actually contributing to society with the work that you do?
The tax bill?
Forget about the tax bill.
But that is what makes society run.
Some people are doing things
Why does my job have to contribute to society?
Let me finish.
My job is contributing to making sure that me and my kids are okay. I am not going to stand here, and work for the NHS. What do? They charge you £9,000 a year to go to university, and then you have to pay nurse registrar fees the whole time that you're at being a nurse, and then on top of that, the nurses are being paid a shit fucking wage. Society.
Listen, hold on.
She's so right. She's spitting. Yeah, and again, they're in the UK, so it's like even worse here in America. It's like we pay our taxes and they go to Elon Musk, basically. At this point, that's where they're going. It goes into billionaires' pockets. Meanwhile, we have potholes all over our streets. Our bridges and our buildings are falling apart. Like, at least I would imagine anyway in the UK, when you pay your taxes, like she was saying, those taxes help pay wages of like nurses. And I don't think that's how it is in the United States. I'm pretty sure they get paid by like the hospitals and the people who own the hospitals, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'll Google it. Salaries directly coming from the institution's budget. which is funded by patient billing and insurance reimbursements. Yeah, okay. So it's different here. Like when we pay our taxes, it doesn't go to paying their I mean, we do have government workers that rely on taxes to pay their wages, like police officers and stuff, I guess, and also just like other government offices, but you know, thousands of people are being let go from those as well. So her argument, at least, like being like, I paid 230,000 pounds in taxes this year to contribute to society, it works because it actually is going into stuff that matters. In America, it's like we pay taxes, and now we're going to be paying more taxes. If you've seen the new proposed tax plan, 99% of Americans are actually going to be paying more in taxes in the coming years. And for what? They're gutting everything. We have pretty much no social safety nets anymore at this point, as if we had some to begin with. Like, we hardly do. Our tax dollars don't really go anywhere that is productive to society. So as far as I see it, and maybe it's just because of my American heritage, is that the right word? Culture, I don't fucking know. The way I see it, coming from an American perspective, this guy's argument is just like a big nothing burger. And again, the existence of people like Rebecca makes it so the adult industry that we're speaking of right now is a more ethical place to earn money. Because again, if people stop consenting to this kind of stuff, then the industry will continue to exist, but it'll be at the expense of mainly women who are not consenting to what's happening to them. Maybe they don't know that they're being filmed, like that kind of stuff. That in and of itself is a contribution to women's safety and well-being. And hey boys, you get to have your favorite videos. You know, like really, you're gonna sit here and try to say that her job doesn't contribute to society, but your guys's does? Like, what do you guys even do? You don't get paid for this podcast, so why the fuck do you even do it in the first place? If you're not being paid for this, what are you doing this for? Because you like to gang up on a woman? There are 3 men and there's 1 woman in this room, and the 3 men have done nothing but gang up on the woman the entire time. Everything she says, it's just like they're immediately questioning it, like, no, what are you saying? You sound crazy. They're not giving her a chance to explain, really, and when she does, they, I don't know, for example, they start snoring, or they start just yelling over her instead of giving her a chance to explain. And from how I see it, she explains this stuff pretty well. Most of it makes sense to me, but they are just refusing to see any of this.
Yeah. Wait. So, bin men, doctors.
Right, I pay my council tax.
Hold on, wait. Bin men, doctors, nurses, Tesco workers are all contributing more than you are with your job.
I'm paying their wages.
You're not doing anything. You're just getting your minge out, and men are bashing to what you're doing.
And what are you doing? I do a podcast. I'm contributing to society. You
know what we do.
I'm paying tax.
We all pay tax.
I pay enough tax to pay 30 nurses' wages a year. I pay that tax. That's corporation tax, dividend tax, personal tax. So you wouldn't understand any of this, you see. But carry on.
Oh, wouldn't we?
I don't think you do, sirs. Hey, sirs? Clearly you don't. Like, if she has to explain this, it's like, oh, well, I pay taxes too. Okay, on what? That brings me back to, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This guy with the F tattoo on his face, I think that's Shuan. His Instagram bio says he's an entrepreneur and what was it again? An e-commerce entrepreneur. What is that? Is that MLM shit? Is that crypto shit? I don't know. And property investor. See, she's a property investor as well, but she has explained that she uses all of her extra money to buy up properties and rent them out for extremely affordable costs. And I don't know this for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say this guy, when he considers himself a property investor, he's flipping homes and selling for a profit. Okay, what the are you doing for society? Sounds to me like all you're doing is raising the costs of housing so that it's continuously getting less and less affordable for people. So as a matter of fact, if that's where your job is, if that's how you make your money, not only are you not contributing to society, you are negatively contributing to society. Please spare me. I don't know what the the CJ guy does. All his Instagram bio says is that he's a host of this podcast. I'm sure he does something else. Who knows what it could be? But whatever it is, it's probably a job that can be criticized for not contributing positively to society as well. Why don't you want to share what you do on Instagram, dude? Why don't you want to share it? That's weird.
Don't you think it's a bit of a waste? You're giving the UK government so much money. Like, they're just
Do
throwing
you
it
think
all away.
you think I want to give the UK
Why don't you
government?
leave?
Why don't I leave what?
You got the money. Why don't you leave the
Because
UK?
I've got children.
Yeah, take them.
I
They
don't
want
want
to be here.
They do
don't
want to
wanna
be here. I've already asked this. We
It's
already
because I
went
don't know
for.
where else they want to.
They've travelled a lot. I took them out of school for it was a 6-week holidays, and we got a motorhome and we drove from from Chesterfield to Cornwall back up to the Lake District in 6 weeks. And I asked them.
Not for like the
UK,
Maldives
mate.
or.
Wait, they've seen Cornwall in the Lake District.
Let me finish.
We know they want to be in the UK now.
They've obviously been other places, but the plan was if they liked the motorhome.
No, but like other countries.
You know what? I'm going to get off now. You lot are the most disrespectful people I've ever met.
What? We was only joking.
No, trust me. You lot are getting fucking rich as shit now.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I'm being dead serious.
Hey, goodbye. What the fuck?
That is mad.
You think that's mad, sir? That's the first thing you've said this entire podcast, icon boy. She's the mad one. They literally were asking her, why don't you just leave the UK? First of all, that's giving like love it or leave it vibes. And it's just like, these people don't understand how hard it is to just like pick up and move when you have a family. You can't just do that, especially if we're talking about immigration. If you're gonna do that the legal way, the proper way, it's not just something you can just pick up and go. If you got kids that are in school and they have friends, like you can't just you can, and people do it, but like it's a lot easier to keep your kids in the same kind of social group. It's more comfortable to them, and if they are comfortable, then yeah, how dare you ask somebody, why do you live here? And then like when she's trying to explain, she's like literally this quietly like, let me finish, please let me finish, just let me finish. And they're yelling over her and not letting her finish, making fun of her, making jokes about her kids traveling to these places that I don't know what they are. I'm an uncultured American. Yeah, I would have gotten up and left way before this, but yeah, she was literally trying to talk and asking you guys to let her finish, and you wouldn't. You just got louder and talked over her. No fucking wonder she walked out. And then you have the audacity to call her mad? Mad as in like crazy? No, she respects herself. She knows her worth, and you little tiny boys are the exact reason why we see like the 4B movement and so many other movements where women just don't want to fuck with men anymore, because so many of them are like this. It's like a not all men thing, but like, come on, seriously, you're gonna act like that and then just expect women to sit there and take it? Welcome to 2025. Women are learning their worth and we're standing up for it, dude. And podcasts like this, and even like shows and stuff like internet series or whatever, they would not exist if women standing up for themselves didn't bother men. The reason these podcasts exist is so that men can get together and soak in each other's masculinity. Makes them feel really good when they have a woman there that they can all shit on together. Makes them feel more masculine. Why do you do that? Is it because you feel like your masculinity is threatened when women have equal rights or are treated equally to men? Because it's really interesting how equality just starts to feel like oppression to you people. And it's not just men who feel that way. You can say the same thing about, races and economic situations and stuff. Sure, you could say all those things. But specifically, I think men like this feel so threatened by the idea of women not being able to be their metaphorical, or not even metaphorical sometimes, but for the sake of this argument, metaphorical punching bag. Like, if you can't shit all over women, then what do you have? These kind of podcasts exist merely to do just that, to make men feel like they're still in control, and they do that by shitting on women, and it's just gross. Anyway, there's 2 minutes left to this. Let's see how it ends.
So the kids want to be in the UK because they're going to go to Chester, to Sheffield, to Cornwall.
Guys, do you think we did anything wrong there? Like, were we...
She was just delusional, mate.
she was delusional. The moment she sat down, you started asking her about her lady bits and then like getting mad at her for her choices that she makes about her body. Who's the delusional one? You guys think you have a fucking say about what a woman does with her body? You want to try to be like, oh, you're hypocritical. It's like seeing a blonde woman being like, I like to be blonde, and being like, I think people with brown hair are beautiful. And they go, well, if you think it's so beautiful, why don't you dye your hair brown? Seriously, it's just so shallow. They don't fucking get it. From my position, it's pretty easy to understand. We all do what we want with our bodies. We look the way we want to. We act the way we want to, as long as we're not hurting anybody else. And quite frankly, Rebecca's not hurting anybody else. I wouldn't even say she's hurting herself. If she decides someday to stop working in this industry, that's up to her. And that is her choice to make. But right now, this is the industry she chooses to work in, and she's doing a great job in it. And the way they behaved, for them to like come back around and be like, did we even do anything wrong? Wow, she's so delusional. If you don't see what you did wrong, how this entire situation is set up to corner her while you guys all like pick at her, including her lady bits, you're picking at her lady bits, not physically. Like, if you cannot see that that is this setup that you have put in front of us, that is how you set this up, and you're like, I don't think we did anything wrong. She's the delusional one. Honestly, holy hell.
Were we rude?
Yes.
No.
I don't think we was rude.
Yeah.
She was just delusional.
Okay, talking over somebody is rude. If she has to ask you to let her finish and you continue talking, yup, that's rude. Basically, anywhere in the whole wide world that you go, interrupting people is considered to be rude. And you guys did that multiple times. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the rude shit you did. You introduced her as a hoe. Please.
No, that is mad. If you keep it rolling though, her boyfriend might come in after.
Let him, mate. That'd be a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't personally think that we was rude. I think we were just challenging her on her points. She's got very strong points.
No, she was challenging you on your patriarchal, misogynistic bullshit that you were spewing at her, and you guys didn't like it, but since it was 3 against 1, all you did was just get loud and talk over her until she left. She came into your space and challenged you on your show, and you didn't like it. That's what the fuck happened. But now you're sitting here and turning it around, being like, we're not the bad guys, she's the bad guy. Nope, sir, it's you. Trust me, it's you and little icon boy sitting there and little F tattoo on his face boy. That's it.
But she's delusional, like, you know?
yeah.
Especially if her thinks she contributes to society for doing corn. That she
Yeah.
doesn't.
She tried to explain to you how she does contribute to society. And then I just sat here and told you how being a property investor is actually the opposite of contributing to a functioning and affordable society. Obviously, they didn't hear that at this point, but like probably would have gotten to it if they would have let her. But she tried to explain to you how she was contributing to society. You wouldn't let her finish. And now you're like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why she thinks she's contributing to society. Maybe you should fucking listen to a woman once in your goddamn life. Fucking misogynistic piece of shit.
I mean, we did push back a lot with like what we said, but I mean, isn't that like part of a podcast?
Yeah.
Like, you come on here to share your opinions. I don't know why she got so angry about it all.
Yeah.
God knows.
Very good argument.
I don't think she's used to having people challenge her in her opinions. It's obvious. She's surrounded by yes men.
Is he looking in a mirror right now? Like, I swear to God. You're projecting. Hey, buddy. You're projecting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, she thinks she contributes to society from.
Yeah.
So do we end the episode there?
Yeah, I guess we're going to end it there, guys.
Okay, now the amazing thing is when you go through these comments, and I'll sort them by new. 1 hour ago, you were rude as hell and display a fundamental ignorance of the way society works. Jesus, these lads sound like they're 13. Can't listen, just rather shout contradicting comments. This is all like an hour ago. This podcast is disgusting. I'm here to dislike this shit. Absolute melt. I don't know what that means. Hopefully that's an insult. The audacity of this cringe merchant to treat this lady with such utter disrespect. You lot are disgusting. Ooh, 3 replies here. Like her? Ew, shut up, George. Shut the fuck up, George. I'm gonna write that. There we go. Reply. What a bunch of douchebags. The irony of talking about what she brings to society is mental. If destroying our brain cells watching your podcast, then I agree that you're up there with the doctors and engineers. Sad little men. Literally, if you scroll through these comments, there is not a single good one except for apparently George. Anyway, so that's not the end of the story here, because right after this happened, Rebecca went to social media. She posted this as she was on her way home.
Story time! So I've just driven 3 hours, or I've been driven 3 hours to Croydon to do a podcast, okay? Now, this was an unpaid podcast. I thought I was helping people out. I was happy to come all this way with no payment whatsoever to try and, be in with the scene. And when I got there, it was 3 men in their apartment, and they sat me down. They showed me a patch of water on their sofa where they made the last guest. They then decided to talk over me the whole podcast so that I couldn't say anything. They told me that I was a waste of space and I did nothing for society. I mean this with all disrespect, the reality check show, but I paid £238,000 in tax last year. What the f*** did your podcast do for society? You know what? It's really funny because one of the guys that was there is literally an model, and all they do is drag our skills down to absolutely rip them to shit.
I wonder which one that is. Huh. Again, projecting. I don't know, but if one of them is also an OF model, sounds like projection. Sounds like a double standard also.
Now, I am very, very lucky that someone decided to bring me here today, because I was going to come on my own, thinking it would be like a proper studio and everything. But it wasn't. It was just 3 horrible men that decided to rip me to shit and refuse to let me speak. Now, their views on women as a whole is just horrible, because as I was sat there waiting, I was a little bit late, so they said, for the next podcast, girl, they said, oh, I better let this bitch know that we're going to be late.
So they're supposed to have another hoe on their podcast, and they referred to her as a bitch behind her back. That's gross. Also, she literally just said she had to drive 3 hours. Like, excuse her for being late. As far as I'm concerned, she's doing y'all a fucking favor by driving all that way to show up for your shitty podcast. Like, seriously?
I mean, they've already been demonetized on YouTube, which I'm glad about, but I hope nobody subscribes to their new Patreon, because they are literally horrible, horrible, toxic men bringing women in. They even said they never get any views when it's men. They told me to wear a slutty outfit, and they just ripped me to shit. And now I just have to go back home. And they made me sign the model release form before, which should have been a red flag. But they've just shared me crying on Instagram to promote them. Like, I've been on so many podcasts, guys, and I can take banter, I can take a joke, but that was me sat on my own with 3 men being bullied.
So remember at the beginning of this where I said that I watched Cam Kirkham Reacts? He said in his video that apparently the podcast's taxes, or maybe it was one of the individual guys, I don't know if it was an individual or the podcast as a whole, because they have a Patreon, so they do still make money and would have to pay taxes on that money as a business. But Cam said in his video that their taxes are overdue. So really? I mean, okay, so I could not find proof of this. I don't even know where to look to find proof of that, but I don't know, just word of mouth says that that's a thing. But there are a few more videos that Rebecca shared on her way home, so let's watch those.
I have seen that Jem Lucy recorded an episode of the podcast after I spoke out. And you know what? I am really, really, really glad that she didn't have the same experience as me. I wouldn't want anybody to be sat in that room and feel as uncomfortable as I did. But I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to go on it. Like, that's none of my business. If you want to go on it, you go on it. Obviously, I'm going to politely decline Jem Lucy's offer of me going on her podcast. But one piece of advice I would give to anybody that is going on that podcast in the future is please be careful when signing the model release form. Please wait until after the podcast to sign it. And please take into account that they currently have a lawsuit for not following GDPR regulations. They are not storing or using people's data correctly. They are also threatening models, saying we have the address that you put on the model release form. Now, if you want to go on that podcast, there's absolutely nothing stopping you at all. I'm not going to stop you. Nobody else is going to. I can't guarantee that it'd be a great outcome for anybody involved. Just know that I stated my experience, and that is the most that I can do.
So I did try to go looking for this lawsuit. Again, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find any proof of it. So again, take that with a grain of salt. But if that's true, that's just even more shit that it's like, you're really gonna have the audacity to sit up here and like bully a very smart woman who has a large audience of loyal followers, and you're just like not gonna have your dirty laundry aired out like this. There's more dirty laundry as well, but there's a few more videos I want to watch first.
You know what, I was just gonna leave it there, but then a few minutes ago they posted about me again on their Instagram story. I wasn't even gonna mention the fact that they reached out to me last night and asked me to make a public apology. But since that's what you guys want, that's what you guys are gonna get. I am so sorry that this whole incident brought to light that you have articles written about you from way before that I knew you existed, stating that you have been in court for sexual assault allegations against a 16-year-old. I did not publish these articles. I have absolutely no rights to these articles. These articles were published way before I even knew you guys existed. But here is your apology that you so desperately want. I obviously do not know what happened with, you know, the guy and the 16-year-old girl. I don't know. But here's your apology if that's what you wanted. I didn't really want to bring it to anyone's attention anymore, but we'll leave it there.
I love her rage. It's wonderful. Yeah, so the SA allegations, that's something else we have to talk about. I think I might be going through these videos in the wrong order. So let me just play this one real quick because it's from the same day. I think I've been going backwards. Oops.
The amount of good that has come from such a crappy situation is unreal. The amount of opportunities I've been presented with since this whole thing took over the internet is unreal. One of these opportunities, which I can't speak about, but it is me working in a new job, and this new job is going to change my life. Rebecca Goodwin is about to be massive. Now, all I have left to say to that podcast is thank you so much. But my biggest thanks is to everybody that has spoken out about the way that I was treated on there. I cannot thank you enough. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah, so about that, I looked on her social blade. She has gained, in the last 30 days, she has gained 51,000 followers on TikTok. This comment says, I've seen that you've got over 150,000 new followers. I don't know if they're talking about her spicy site. I'm not sure what that is, but I saw 50,000 on TikTok. So maybe that's like all together. I'm not sure, but she's doing great for herself, and that makes me very happy. Do we want to get to the SA allegations? Because yeah, I do. So yeah, apparently a few years ago, that Shuan guy, the one with the tattoos on his face, apparently was in trouble for SA. Like, he went to court and everything, but I think they found him to be not guilty. Now, the thing about that is not guilty doesn't mean you didn't do it. It just means that maybe there wasn't enough evidence and the jury chose not to convict you because of a lack of evidence, but it doesn't mean you didn't do it. So Shuan goes on Instagram and makes a little video. A lot of people were expecting perhaps an apology, perhaps that he would apologize to Rebecca. No, instead, this is what we got.
So in 2013, when I was 17 years old, I was falsely accused of 2 years later, I was asked to come to court to enter my plea, not guilty. This is why the article that a lot of people have read have twisted it and made it out as if I was 19 and she was 16, when I was 17 and she was 16, as it took 2 years for the courts to ask me to come and enter a plea. After a trial at the Croydon Crown Court on the 29th of August in 2016, I was acquitted of all charges and found completely not guilty. Now, do with this as you wish. I'm sure people have already made their minds up about me, but that is the truth and the fact, and I just needed to share my side of the story.
Okay, so no apology to Rebecca. All he did was show up and be like, I went to court and they didn't find me guilty, so that's that. I don't know the details about this situation, but I'm also of the believe all women side of things. If a woman says that, even if she was 16, if she says that you did something to her that she did not like, that she did not consent to, and press charges against you, even though you were found not guilty, I believe her. That's just my personal opinion, because I find that statistically, most of the time when women make accusations like this, it's because they're true and not for nefarious reasons like men always try to make it out to be. Sometimes women do that, okay? But for the most part, there is validity to accusations like this. Plus, he didn't apologize, so whatever. They did kind of get thrown through the ringer. There's like a stitch that I have downloaded. Some girl was talking to them live on TikTok and basically calling them out, and then it's a stitch for someone else calling them out, I guess. So we can watch that.
Use our nonsense, except a few people that have said that Shuan got convicted for some shady shit with a 16-year-old girl. That's a different conversation.
No. If we're going to make allegations, we should at least...
You should
at least...
Allegedly.
No. Because you said the word convicted. I was charged and found not guilty. You can't say convicted.
This man tried to break into our house in 2015. Oh my God, this is just...
What?
I was very triggered seeing everything going on with Rebecca. And so I saw in the comments people saying like, oh, wasn't he blah, blah, blah. And so I looked into it and I was like, oh my God, where have I seen this page before? Why do I know it? And I realized this guy, he tried to break into our uni home in 2015. So I went to university in Southampton and my final year was 2015 to 2016. And for whatever reason, I don't really remember, but there was like, we didn't get along with our neighbouring house. One of the neighbours, I think, broke my friend's phone. There was a stolen doormat or something at some point, and they tried to get into a fight with some of our male friends that had come to visit at one point. Anyway, so this is our house. The house across the road directly from us were our friends. Their neighbours were friends with like our neighbours. And so I was actually away and I get a text from these neighbours being like, Amy, like, what's going on? Like, there's police all at your house. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, girls, like, what's going on? And basically, like, their neighbours had a party. And because they were friends with these guys, they obviously had gone to the party. This guy, Shuan, he'd come over and was staying from Bournemouth University. So I was at Southampton and Bournemouth is really, really close. He had come over and was staying. And I don't know how, like, obviously none of us know how it came up or anything. But they must have mentioned to him, like, oh, we have, like, beef with our neighbours. My housemates at the time were just getting ready for a night out. And he had learned that there'd been, like, some beef or something, but again, unprovoked. And he decided to come over to the house and punch a hole through the door, trying to get access, trying to, like, be all big I am, being like, oh yeah, like, if you've got beef, like, if you want, da 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 da. Our house, we're known as, like, the hot girl house. What was he going to do once he got access to this house? Unprovoked, of girls that he didn't know, that were literally just minding their own business that night. What was he going to do? He clearly wanted to scare them, potentially cause them harm. So naturally the police were called. And that's why my neighbours across the road called me, or like, well, like, Amy, like, what's going on? Like, the police are there. And I was like, I don't know, like, what's going on? But we remember that his friends that he was staying with here in Southampton, so I'm not sure whether he was staying with our neighbours or like the guys across the road, but that everyone was like begging, like, oh no, please don't press charges, please don't press charges. So my housemates went, look, just pass on your details, and as long as you cover the damage, like, that'll be that. That's the name that was given over. I was like, why do I recognise this name? Why do I recognise this story? Because like a day or so later, like, after having his name and his details, we like Googled. And yeah, we knew he was like a Bournemouth uni student. We knew, like, because everyone was saying like, oh, he's just a student, like, you know, just da 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 da. No, it's because when we Googled, it came up that he was being charged with the of a minor. And obviously, it's not going to look very good if you're also then being charged for attempting to break into the home of some young, attractive women, completely unprovoked, to scare or harm them. That's going to look really bad when you're already being charged for that. But yeah, he absolutely tried to break into our university home, unprovoked, full of women, on an evening, like, drunk, didn't know us, didn't have any history with us, for whatever reason. But yeah, dangerous. Just had to give you guys that context, because he's getting really passionate about how he was found not guilty. He definitely was guilty of trying to break into our home and punching a hole through our door and then having to pay for it. We didn't press charges. I mean, I wasn't there personally, but we didn't press charges. We just wanted him to send the money to fix the door, and he did.
That's very trusting of her to be like, okay, fine, we won't press charges, but like, just send us money. We'll trust that you'll send us money to fix the door. Again, these are just accusations. There's no proof that any of that happened, but I mean, it sounds to me like this dude is scary. He is insecure, which is why he's projecting all of this stuff and bullying women on a public platform. because he's so insecure about his own shit. And it's like, you're gonna act like this and think that people aren't going to come out and talk about it? You're gonna just punch holes through women's doors? Like, girl, you should have pressed charges, please. Can we normalize pressing charges against men? I guess I accidentally, like, kind of did this backwards. I meant to end with all that SA stuff, but I do have a few videos saved of her after the fact, essentially capitalizing on the situation, which to her, I'm like, yeah, do it. Good. Let's see what else Rebecca had to post about.
So me and my sister have spoken and obviously agreed to remove the videos about each other off of our pages. Now, the podcast in question has approached both my sister and her place of work, asking if she would like to appear on the podcast to clear up the family's name. Now, my sister has responded, saying that she wants absolutely nothing to do with the podcast, and she's disgusted in the way that they treat me. And obviously what she was saying on her TikTok was not that she was cancelling out my experience as a child, but she didn't have the same experiences. Which I'm glad she didn't, and I don't want anyone to attack my sister. I love my sister. Obviously it was a bit of a shock to the system when I didn't see immediate support, but she's there now, she's helping. It's obviously very, very overwhelming when your family's in the spotlight. Now, my mum, I never brought my mum into anything. I love my mum with all my heart. I do employ her. She does have my kids when I'm at work. I do pay her to do that. That is something that I want to do as well, because I want my family to be happy. I'm sure that anybody, you know, that gets money would use that in helping their family as well. Now, the issue that I'm left with here is that the podcast itself has taken my sister's content without permission. She has voiced that she does not want them to share it, and posted it onto their Instagram, trying to make out that I am a liar about my childhood trauma. Not only that, but they have reached out to other models and reminded them that our addresses are on the model release form and they would not be afraid to turn up at our addresses. Now, I know the term narcissistic abuse is used very, very loosely in the society at the moment, but when I say that these men are genuine narcissists, I need you to believe me. They will stop at nothing. Now, as much as I'm worried for myself, I'm also worried for everybody else that's been on the podcast. Not only that, but I'm worried for the people that have already been recorded by this podcast and will not want to be put out after this movement. But I am trying everything I can to get this to not happen. Now, I am tired of this. This was never, ever supposed to be a PR stunt. I was genuinely just travelling down to London for free from up north, and I did not expect any of this, and I gave them the opportunity to never upload that video. Now, I don't know how they thought that uploading it would work in their favour, but they chose to do it. I uploaded no footage of that day. This is getting boring, guys. You are 3 grown men, okay, and you are attacking women, the same women that you used to build your podcast in the first place. Now, I can't really comprehend what you think it is that you're going to be taking away from this situation, but all I ask is please try and make it on your own now without using my name. Good luck.
That was a lot. And I don't know who her sister is. I didn't look that far into it. I don't know. They probably posted it on their stories or something because I didn't see it on their Instagram like feed. So they got mad at her for speaking out. And they're like, we're going to go essentially attack your family now. And then they go and they reach out to everyone that they have a model release form for and be like, hey, just so you know, we know where you live. You better keep your mouth shut. It's like, whoa. And if they're threatening to show up in America anyway, I feel like that would be considered a threat that you could like get a restraining order for, probably, if I had to guess. But yeah, that's scary. That is scary. They're doing this to women, grown-ass men, just like threatening women like this. Like, what do you get out of this? You feel more powerful? You just really have to be delusional and insecure to really truly think that you can take control of the situation by threatening other women. Like, hey boys, what? Can we leave people's families out of this? I'm glad she has support. And that's cool that she pays her mom to watch her kids because, like, at least here in America, our vice president has come out and said, we don't need to offer childcare tax credits. We don't need to help parents find childcare while they go to work. All we need is family. Maybe a grandma or grandpa would like to come out and help. Essentially being like, you can get free labor from your family. And that is kind kind of like a normal thing, I think, in American culture anyway, is that like if you're a grandparent or a family member who is able to contribute, like when I used to have a real job, like my sister used to watch my daughter when I'd go to work one day, and then my husband's mom would watch her another day, and then my parents would watch her a third day. I only worked 3 days a week. And same thing, like I would watch my sister's kids when I could, my parents would watch my like, and no one was paying each other. I think that's just generally because like that's what you have to do in America if you're middle class. Like you can't, like childcare is so expensive. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but to hear her say, yeah, my mom watches my kids while I go to work and I pay her to do that, that's cool. And you want to talk about contributing to society? You're contributing to your mother's financial stability. That's just cool of her. She is overcoming societal norms. Obviously, she feels very strongly about women overcoming societal norms based on how she was talking in the podcast. And I think that's really, really great. So there's a few more. I think 2 of these are just like little short things, just of her utilizing the whole situation to bolster herself up in a good way, in my opinion. I'm just gonna take a screenshot of this one. It might be a little vulgar, so I'll just do a little bit of censoring here, but it says, you were demonetized, I wasn't. You came into this looking to use an OF girl, but this time the OF girl used you. I never intended this to be a PR stunt, but believe me when I say I will ride any wave I need to. She posts her February 18th, 2025 OF analytics. Holy moly. She got over $6,000 from subscriptions in one day, $1,300 in tips, $1,100 from messaging. I think OF has like a messaging feature where they can like pay for certain, I don't really know. I don't know how it works. But in one day, get it, girl. Get it. Get your coin at the expense of these sad, pathetic little boys. I love it. I love to see it. Here's another short one. It just says, me on a podcast. Just being interrupted. Okay, here's the last one I downloaded.
Okay, so the first point and the most important point that I have to make here is, oh my word, thank you so much for the support that I have received. I had absolutely no idea that many people liked me. Honestly, cannot thank you enough, and I will never get over this. And I knew that my support system on here was great, but until this weekend that's just gone, like, I never knew how great, and thank you so much. Now, I don't really want to give this podcast any more time of day, because I think that the only way that we can legally make these people disappear is by getting rid of them from our minds and our social media and just our everyday to-day life. I will admit that in that podcast, I was not my best self, okay? I was overstimulated, I was fighting back the tears, I was defensive, I couldn't get my point across correctly. Now, they are using those bits to sort of try and make me look like a bad person, so I'd like to just clarify 2 points. So, I don't believe that workers have no dignity at all. What I do believe is that the system treats you with no dignity, and that is not okay. I believe that anybody that is selling their freedom and their time should get financial freedom in exchange for that.
Yes.
That is the only fair trade here. Especially these multi-millionaire and billionaire companies like Tesco and like the NHS, they should be on their knees to you. It should not be this way round. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be choosing whether you eat or heat your home while working for a billionaire company. That is not okay, and that was the point that I was trying to get across. As for the puberty statement, you wouldn't let me get a word in edgeways, okay? So what I was saying is, as a woman, we are allowed to choose. We are allowed a preference. As a man, you are allowed a sexual preference to a woman. Now, if you choose and if you're attracted to somebody that shaves their brilliant, that's okay. But when you are dictating what Sally Bagshaw from 344 miles away does with her, and you are shaming her and saying that she is unhygienic and unattractive because she has pubic hair, that is when you have something against puberty, because that is not a sexual preference, because you're not having sex with Sally Bagshaw. Women's natural bodies are put down all the time, okay? And I know what you're thinking, what do you know about a woman's natural body? You're 95% plastic. But yeah, I had that natural body and I was put down that much that I felt the need to change everything, so I do know. I'm sorry that we don't all have perky and flat stomachs and no hair. I'm sorry that we've gone through puberty, but to be honest with you, it's none of your fucking business. Now, this is the problem with the people that get voices. Like, a lot of them haven't experienced both ends of the spectrum. Okay, so if you're born into money and you've got this entitlement, you don't know what it's like to be able to take your kids on a holiday to Butlins. I'm getting wound up. You don't know what it's like. I used to save up a year just to be able to take my kids to Butlins. Okay, and you know what? It was more than money. It was the anxiety of catching 3 trains on my own with the pushchair and the suitcase, and I did that, and I am proud of that till this day. Now, if you let me finish what I was saying about the motorhome, the reason I hired the motorhome for 6 weeks and drove up and down the country with them was to see if they liked it. The plan was after the 6 weeks to sit down and talk to my children and say, do you want to continue? Do you want to go to other countries? Do you want to be homeschooled? I was offering that to them, but you wouldn't let me say that. Now, I don't know if you know how much balls it takes for a woman to get in a motorhome with 2 kids on her own and try something completely new where she knows nobody, but it's more than money, okay? I get nervous too. Anyway, no one's going to watch the whole of this, but the most important thing that I want to say is thank you to every single person that has supported me. Like, I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget this. I love you so much. Thank you. And bye-bye to that podcast. Like, just get rid of the videos of me, please. I want no association with you guys. Do what's right.
That's a good place to end it, actually. Maybe, you know, it all worked out because her to be like, bye-bye to the podcast. I agree. Obviously, me putting out this video is bringing more attention to the podcast, but like, I feel like ultimately it's negative attention. They're all getting negative attention on their comments. I wonder if people are commenting on like their other videos. I'll go look. So you could sit there and listen to Jem, but wouldn't let Rebecca get a word in and constantly talk over her. Damage control. She was trying to demonize you from the start. They literally introduced her as Ho. What the actual did they expect? Not every group of mates needs a podcast. This is a clear example. The difference between how you treated Rebecca and how you treated Gemma is disgusting. Okay, so I don't think we need to really investigate this much further. It's very clear that anything they post from here on out is going to be associated with how shitty they treated Rebecca. And I'm happy for this woman who's sitting here, who apparently was treated better. That's good. That's a great thing.
Hey guys, I'm really sick and I have pink eye, so I don't want to get on camera, but I did want to add this one last video to the end of this content here because apparently the Reality Check podcast appeared to have sent Rebecca a cease and desist kind of thing, and they're demanding an apology from her. So she posted this video. I'm just gonna let it play in full here. It's very good and very funny, and it just makes me appreciate her and the way she's handling this even more. So here is the final video I wanted to share with you guys today.
Guys, I have received a solicitor's letter from the podcast stating word for word what I have to say online in order for this to not go any further. So they are requesting from me a public apology and retraction. So I am going to do this now. I am issuing this statement to publicly apologise and retract any false allegations made by myself to Mr. Shuan Maroof. Sorry if I said your name wrong. I understand that the allegations I made were entirely untrue, and Mr. Shuan Maroof was found not guilty of sexual assault when he was 17 by the jury after evidence. I deeply regret any harm or distress that this may have caused to Shuan, and I apologise for any negative consequences that have arisen from my statements. I take full responsibility for my actions. I confirm that I will not publish, share or endorse any other material that may be detrimental to Shuan's reputation. I also urge my followers to stop any harassment or hate towards Shuan. This statement is a complete retraction of every other statement I have ever made because I'm not allowed a voice. And I do apologise for what I said. Now, I just want everyone to know that these allegations were not actually made by me. I just shared an article stating that, you know, he was accused of something back when he was 19, but he's changed to 17. I'm not sure really what's going on, but I have read that word for word, so... also, if that's not good enough, I'll see you in court. Newspapers, I will let you know the court date, because I'm going to fire this one out.
I think ultimately what it comes down to is this is a group of men, and their entire podcast is based on bringing spicy models in to talk shit to. And they're all women. Like, the women are the guests. And they're just a bunch of misogynistic men. You would not have a platform without these women showing up to your podcast. And I really desperately hope that after this, no one shows up anymore. Take this platform away from them. They don't deserve this shit. And the models that they have on their show don't deserve this shit either. I am absolutely in support of Rebecca and any other women who decide that this is the industry they want to work in. If they do it consensually and they are enjoying themselves, I absolutely 100% stand by them. I think, just like Rebecca said, it totally does come down to reclaiming your womanhood, to reclaiming things that men have taken from you. And as women in today's day and age, men have taken something from all of us, whether it's directly or indirectly. And it is very powerful to see other women living their best life, making a bunch of money, and still being contributing members to society. Like, okay, again, you want to talk about contributing to society? When you are a person who makes as much money, if you're making 100,000 pounds a month, is what Rebecca was saying, which I think that would equal like $110,000 or $120,000 American per month. I don't know. I'm just like doing very quick math in my head, but it's probably somewhere around there. Like, when you go and you spend money, that contributes to the economy. Like, if she's not hoarding her wealth, which it doesn't sound like she is because she's buying properties and renting them out to underprivileged people and families, it sounds to me like she's not necessarily hoarding wealth. She does have multiple properties that she says she will give to her children in the future. She'll be able to sell any extra properties and make a profit when the time comes for that. But in the grand scheme of things, she is spending the money she's making, from what it seems like, which would contribute to economic growth. Plus, she's paying a shitload in taxes. She pays more in taxes than my husband and I a year make combined, by far. It's just like, you really want to talk shit about contributing to society? I don't know. It seems to me like Rebecca and other people that they would have as guests on these podcasts contribute just fine. Probably contribute more than you do, little boys. So with that, I guess we'll end it here. Let me know what you think about all of this. I know that it's kind of a controversial thing to talk about, this line of work. I think most of my audience gets what I'm saying, where I'm coming from, and would agree that this kind of work is real work and it does contribute to society, as long as the people doing it are consenting and enjoying themselves. So anytime I say this work is real work, people always get mad at me. So it's like, okay, why are you worried about how other people make their money if they're not hurting anybody? Like, come on. Anyway, and now I have to thank my patrons and my members, guys. The list of names I'm about to read off are my financial supporters. They get access to things like our private Discord server. We have a postcard club, and sometimes even more than that. So if any of that sounds good to you, you can go to patreon.com/SavannahMarie, or you can click the join button beneath this video to join my YouTube memberships. Just whatever platform works for you, works for me. So with that, the biggest thank you in the whole wide world goes to Hula Chowdown, Jacqueline Nutton, Kessie Drew, KJ Barnes, Leanne, Marie Silver, Caroline Reed, Daniel Urena, Maddie Darley, Ray, Stephanie Mayfield, AJC, Evan Adler, Kelsey Nicole, Cassosities, LaSalle Story, Fuffy Duck Butt 24, Elaine, Ferd Turgeson Esquire, Love to Be Evil, Just Mark, Baby Pink Pearl, Alice Wagner, Fallon Harris, Jessica Billhart, and Emion. And to the rest of my financial supporters, thank you so much for being here and being you. You make all this content possible. And even if you're not a financial supporter in this way, just thank you for making it to the end of this video. The fact that you're here helps me out a lot as well. Liking and subscribing helps, so thank you for doing all those things. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.